Subscribe. Are we good now? Hit that like, hit that subscribe. Come talk some Broad Street with us, right? Let's go. This ain't the fuck like he wants this game, he stinks.
Oh shit!
It's gone.
Hi, folks. Bob Mannery here. You're listening to A2D Radio, real sports talk radio for the fans, by the fans, no agenda. These guys are the best in the business. Hashtag it. No notes.
Welcome in, everybody. This is the A2D Radio Sixers postgame show. And every postgame show is brought to you by FanUp. And FanUp is the best way to enjoy fantasy sports, daily NBA contests, and more. Win great prizes. Sign up today. Use promo code A2D for 5,000 bonus points. That's a $50 value. FanUp. You can find them right on the Apple Store. Go download it and use our promo code A2D for 5,000 bonus points. That's Ryan Brodo. I'm Tom Arnone. Everybody out there joining us tonight, welcome in. Welcome in. Sixers win 144-114. A 43-point outburst in the third quarter. So we got a lot to talk about. Everybody back to Broad Street now. We back to because I mean, as of 3 losses, we were first round exit. So are we back to being a first round exit? Where do we stand? Well, we'll have to talk about in regards to that. We'll do comments of the day at the end of the show. Loser of the game, winner of the game, and to start it off, as always, our gut reactions, and our gut reactions are brought to you by Manscaped, and you can get 20% off and free shipping with the code A2D at manscaped.com. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. So, our gut reactions to tonight, it's a great win, right? In terms of you need to come back and find a way to win a game. But even more than that, they gave us like a comfortable game in the second half. And we just mentioned it, 43 points in the third quarter gets you in lines of comfortability real fast. But it was a game it was a must win. And like you're going to talk about in terms of rebounding, they came with a sense of urgency tonight or today, I should say. And that's big. And I know Charlotte doesn't play any defense, but you still put up 144. And my gut reaction is, that's a James Harden I almost need to see. And people are going to say, what are you talking about, Tom? Like he had 12 points or 13 points, whatever he had tonight or today. Okay. It's the point of him being a facilitator, right? He still is respected and guarded shooting the three. So nobody's like leaving James Harden open. But when he can facilitate and the Sixers can move the basketball like they did today, these are the results they're going to have, which is on the winning side of basketball. Okay. They still got to clean up things. Right, we were talking about before we came on. There's 4 straight possessions with a turnover in the first half. Okay, yeah, you can't have that. You can't have that. So that's more a part of playing together too. They got to clean that stuff up, even to this day, even after a good win. But the other side of it was the sense of urgency and the energy and what this basketball team is able to do when James Harden is a facilitator and they move the basketball all around. Because when they're able to move the basketball and get guys like Tobias open looks or get them in the right matchups or get Tyrese going to the basket and being aggressive, that all starts with ball movement. That all starts with guys moving around. If you're stagnant out there and you're waiting for a guy just to dribble around and pound the basketball into the ground, you become stagnant and your offense becomes stagnant unless that specific guy goes off, right? So, I like that they run the pick and rolls. I like the things they do, but this a nice mix up of all of it is to move the basketball. You have to move the basketball. And if you do, you're going to have good results. And I thought, when they all first got together, I thought they did a tremendous job of that, right? And then it felt like they got away from it a little bit. So it's nice to see them get back to moving the basketball around, trusting each other, and then days like this happen, and now you can really start to trust your teammates even more, right? If you make that extra pass, they're going to get a basket for you, right? They're going to get a big shot for you, and when you move it like that, I'm not saying all the time, but for today, for instance, you're going to get 43 points in the third quarter, right? Because you're being unselfish and you're playing for the extra pass. And I know that's basketball 101, but if you watch around the NBA, when teams are going hot, they're doing that. They're getting that extra pass for that open look, right? And you're not always going to bury that open look, but if you continue to play that style of basketball, sooner than later, you're gonna bury those open looks, right? And that's the importance of it. And I think today they showed that. And when you get double figures from all five, it's almost not many nights they're going to lose. I'm hard pressed to find nights they lose when all five guys are in double figures. And today, was a perfect example of that, right? And you still didn't get a ton from Harden, but you got the assists, you got the unselfishness, you got the rebounds, and Joel unconscious like he always is for the most part. Almost a point a minute again. People say, "Oh, you compare him to Jordan?" No, that's just real numbers. So that's what he does. He averages a point a minute since he walked into the league. Okay, and then Tobias. Tobias was sensational tonight. Or I keep saying tonight because I'm so used to doing things at night. You know what I mean? we're so muscle memory into doing things tonight. But Tobias today, I mean, he was huge in a big game. And you can tell me, "Oh, it's just Charlotte," and I understand that. I'm saying in a big game because you can't lose this game. You can't lose this game. I just did a video with fire behind me the other day. You can't lose this game, right? You can't lose Detroit, and you did. Well, that's over with. We don't have time machines, so we can't go backwards or we all be billionaires, right? We can only go to the next one, and the next one becomes a must win. So the end of my gut reaction is this team in a must-win situation at home went and took care of business today, and it shows you how good they can be, how they can be. And this is why when I say they can go to an Eastern Conference final, it's because of days like this. It's because of games like this. And then there's other games where they blow leads and they do other stupid shit. And you're like, I can't trust this team. I can't trust this team. But that's the event why they need to continue to play together and the importance of this over these next 5 games, right outside of the last game of the season. They got to continue to play together. It's important. So, listen, I'm always excited. Finally, we get to do a post game after a win. So,
all right. We're on the board.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got one. So, I mean, everybody's gut reaction should be feeling good. That doesn't mean it has to change how you feel about the team. We'll get into that in a little bit. But right now, it's a great win because it's a must win.
Yeah, I mean, and Suhas Reddy says in the comments down below in our chat, and Tom, you and I talked about it before we came on. I'll save everyone the trouble of typing, "Oh, it was just Charlotte. Oh, Charlotte doesn't play any defense." They've won 8 of their last 10, 3 of their last 4. I'm not saying Charlotte is a first seed. I'm not saying they're a top 3 seed. No, but they were a team that was hot. And to Tom, to your point, the last time we came on into the postgame, it was supposedly just the Pistons. Well, you put up 98 points against just the Pistons. So I'm done with the whole, I think as far as, and I think you are as well, with the whole, "Oh, it's just this team." I don't give a damn. It's not the Eagles. It's not a 16-game season where you can really go microscope in every game. No, I want to rack up wins. I want to see performances from this bench. I want to see performances where, Doc Rivers talked about it. You talked about it, to where the ball movement, it actually existed tonight. How about that? It was something where, hey, it's not Harden's going to be on an island, then Embiid, then Maxey. They were actually playing like a team today. I talked about it on Facebook. It was a get right game, whatever that means to the a specific fan. That's up to you guys. But it's a game where you look at it, and if you actually understand that they the opponent you beat today by 30 points, as I'm looking on the screen, they won 8 of their last 10. It was a game where it's like, you just breathe for a second, okay? It's not going to determine if this shouldn't make you go from, hey, I think they're a second round exit team, to, oh, they're the finals. And just like a Pistons loss shouldn't make you go the other way. It's a game that it was a get right game. And it came down to the biggest thing, aside from Harden being facilitator or Embiid being unconscious. And oh, by the way, Tom, how many times did he get to the line? So it's all you have to do for Embiid to make points is foul shots, right? I believe he only got to the line 6 times tonight or today.
6 times. That's
Yeah,
it.
so averaged near a point a minute, didn't play at all in the fourth quarter, and he still was Joel Embiid, even though he didn't really get to the line. It came down to a handful of things, right? You had 8 total bench points last game against the Pistons. You had 30 after 3 quarters. Every stat and number I bring up, ladies and gentlemen, it's only through 3 quarters because I'm not going to factor in garbage time, which was a majority, if not all of the fourth. You had 30 points after 3 quarters off the bench. And the biggest thing, and which is the exact opposite of what I talked about on Thursday, which is my biggest worry, aside from the roster construction and how I think it's really top heavy, and I don't think they know how to use certain parts, but that's beside the point. They're fundamentally stupid at times. And we've seen a lot of that the last week. It came down to rebounding, ladies and gentlemen. And you looked at it, over the last handful of weeks, pretty much the entire season, they've taken a big drop off on rebounding. Through 3 quarters, they out-rebounded Charlotte 38-23. That tells you all you need to know. And that, to your point from earlier, Tom, you still lost the turnover battle. You lost the turnover battle through 3 quarters, 16-12. So you eliminate that stretch where you had 4 positions of turnovers, 1, 2, 3, 4, all in a row. You're even. So you just clean it up a little bit. That's all you really have to do. So I loved what I saw from the bench because, and I'm sure you saw the same thing, Tom. This morning, the stat was floating around on ESPN Stats and Info that since the All-Star break, the Sixers are dead last in bench production in the league. So it's perfect for the bench to come out and do what they do. Now, do I think that they're going to do that every night? No. But they eclipsed our margin, which we talk about every single night. That is, get us 20 points off the bench. Well, you eclipse that by 10 after 3 quarters. Have a pulse off the bench, rebound, and move the basketball. Like you said earlier, it's not what we're saying is not rocket science, but what's frustrating is we really haven't seen that a lot. It's like the simple things they haven't done. And that's what's made everything harder. So it was a breath of fresh air. It was nice to have a second half, or especially a fourth quarter where we didn't have to worry about a 28-point blown lead. And I think it was a good way to start the weekend where everyone could just breathe a little bit.
Yeah, it was a great way to start the weekend. And somebody said they don't, KZ, they don't have a big guy in the paint. I hear you, and I agree with it. I don't expect them to out rebound everybody. To me, it more looks to their sense of urgency today and their effort today. And I think if they bring that nightly, which is what I expect them to do come postseason time, that they'll have more success than they won't. Right. And I think that's the big thing that you can take out of it. It's just about them being focused and ready to play basketball. And that's what you saw today. You saw a focused group, right? And they got to be able to do that, nightly in the postseason. And I'm not gonna, like I said, I'm not gonna overreact to regular season losses, and I'm not gonna overreact to regular season wins, right? I'm just gonna continue to think, okay, this is the team I think they are. Now you can start to overreact if you end up coughing up game after game after game after game after game after game, right? And you're just playing terrible basketball. Then it's like, okay, we're not good, right? But a 3-game stretch, or the max I'll give a team is like a 5-gamer where they're playing a little rough, and then you hope they find it. But anything like under that is just, it doesn't matter to me, right? It's not ideal. Nobody likes it, but you're going to lose some games. You're not the Warriors from a while back. Right? You're not winning 70+ games. It's just it's almost impossible to do. So you have to understand that it doesn't mean you can't get to where you want to get to or win a championship. None of that dictates it. But it's good to be able to show up when those things are going, all that stuff is going wrong for you. The 90% of this fan base thinks they're a first or second round exit, and then you're able to relock in, focus, and come out with an effort today. It shows me resiliency and some things I need to see, and I think we all do heading into the postseason.
Well, and 2 things, Casey. I hate to start out another show where I'm disagreeing with you because it's becoming a trend. But I mean, they had Plumlee and Montrezl Harrell. I mean, you could do way worse than that as far as big guys in the paint. Plumlee's a guy who's he's a veteran. He knows how to play basketball, and Harrell, I know he's bounced around a lot the last handful of years, but He's a good player. So I mean, it's not like they were going up against Moses Brown and Jericho Sims today. I'm saying you're playing two guys that they can get you, and you completely handle them. So I would look at it more on the credit to what we did as far as handling our business, rebounding, getting points in the paint, all that. Aside from it was just the Hornets. They didn't really have anybody to stack up against us per se.
Yeah, and the biggest takeaway is something Wilson's saying here too. Great pace today on offense, good win. Yeah, and
they pushed it.
Their pace, their ability to move the basketball, and that's the stuff they did extremely well when they all first got together. Through that first, let's say, 13 games, right? When they were 10-3 after 13 games, right? I mean, that's something they did extremely well together before the hiccup. And let's remember something. The hiccup came against Phoenix on the road, end of a little mini West Coast trip, okay? That they were in that basketball game. And then the next one comes against Milwaukee, and we know how good Milwaukee is, and you're in a dogfight there, right? Now, granted, you had a lead. I get it. But you're still playing a damn good basketball team. You expect them to make another run back, and they did, right? And you lose that game by 2. So it's another game you're right in. You're right there, right? And then the Detroit game happens, and then the overreactions really go to another level. When I'm like, man, that's almost like a hangover because you're going to Detroit and playing them, and they stink. It's almost a hangover after that tough Milwaukee loss. That happens. Not ideal. You shouldn't lose to the Pistons, period, but it happens. But then you're able to come back today and end it. All right, that's enough. That's enough of bad basketball. That's fixing some of the things that are going to go wrong for you. Do I expect this team to be the cleanest team walking around in the playoffs? No. Do I feel like they're going to clean up all their turnovers and their laws? No. I don't expect it to be perfect, right? But I believe I have enough firepower to overcome it, right? And I don't believe it's going to be a nightly thing either. There's going to be games where they get sloppy and they look like they can't miss early, and then there becomes a point where they hit a huge lull. But you're also going to say, then I'm also going to say, well, there was a point where they were hot and they were beating a team by 10 that was going through their lull, right? So the NBA is a game of lulls at times. So who's going to have the last punch, right? That's the NBA. In the last 8 minutes, who's going to square who up, right? And that's what comes to the NBA playoffs. So, I'm excited. I'm excited to get there. And I think, we all should be, but they have to play together. We have to understand that too. Part of pace and part of ball movement is playing together.
It's and you touched on this before we went live, Tom, and you guys, I would imagine you'll see it firsthand, because I would imagine you guys will be live after tomorrow night's game, whether it's during or after. So you'll see it firsthand in the chat. But you mentioned to me before we went on the air that if they come out and win tomorrow, just get a win, let alone, they win handily. I'm not saying by 30, but say you win by 15. Say it's another stress-free victory and you see some efficiency once again. You said, I wonder what the energy is going to be in the room then. Because, okay, as much as we could talk about, you gave one away to, it's not even arguable, it's the best team in basketball by far, and that's the Suns at the end of a West Coast trip. And then you cough one up to the defending champions, and then you obviously have an embarrassment against the Pistons. What are 2 bounce-back games going to do for this fan base? Is it kind of like I see in the chat, oh, well, what they do for the rest of the season really doesn't matter. You got to rest guys. Or is it kind of, okay, we have to find some kind of chemistry. I don't want to say culture per se, but, some chemistry, some kind of momentum going into the postseason. I'm interested to see, if you have another really solid victory tomorrow, if that all flips a part of this fan base. And I think the biggest thing, and I want your opinion on this, Tom, and I want the fans' opinion as far as what they're going to do. Before this game, I would have bet a lot of money that either Embiid or Harden, if not both, would have sat tomorrow against Cleveland. The fact that neither of them played at all in the fourth quarter, very, very little, I wonder if that affects anything. And I wonder if you do see them run out there again and they don't sit, for example, and they do run it out there like it wasn't a back-to-back.
Yeah, for the first thing about, winning 2 to the shift of fan base, I think some people have their minds made up, right? Yeah. There's a portion that have their minds made up and they don't think they're good enough, or, I know you mentioned like top heavy which I'd rather be top heavy than evened out per se. Right?
Oh, yeah, fair.
You know what I mean? I can look at that. You can look at it two ways. I know we have, the 2019 in our heads. That's not always the outcome. This basketball team is better than that. This 5 is better than that, in my opinion. Not that there was anything wrong with that 5, but that 5 also, was a bounce away too. So, you look at that as well. But
yeah, we might have 5 bounces go our way this time.
yeah, I just think people have their minds made up. But is there a portion that will start saying, you know what, they are really good? Now, how far do they go? I don't know, but they are really good, and they're going to be a tough out or whatever the case may be. So, I doesn't shift for me because where I think they can go.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like listen. I'm not shifting off one or the other. I'm not going to be like, oh well, now they're going to the NBA Finals. No, I'm just saying I believe they get to an Eastern Conference Finals. Then it becomes house money, right? Then it becomes like, hey, I'm over my hump, right? I'm over my own hump. I got further than I got. Hey, now can I go steal something? Because at that point, I'm in steal mode. At that point, I'm playing a big boy. I'm either playing the Nets, I'm playing Milwaukee, I'm playing somebody at that level, Boston, Miami, whatever. There's a lot of good teams. I'm playing one of them at the end, and I don't. If they're good, if they rest somebody, I can see them resting Harden tomorrow. If anybody rests, I just don't. I don't think. I think they got to be smarter than the rest game, like in this portion, because they're going to have the time off before the postseason. They probably won't play the Detroit game, so they're going to have like a week plus off. This team hasn't played enough together. They have not. When you add in a new distributor, right, that's important, right? So when you add in a new distributor of like James Harden, you need the chemistry to go around and play with each other as much as possible to say, to get some of the bad things that happen, get them out. And the only way you're going to get them out is by playing together and continuing to gain chemistry.
There's, to your point, because you, like you said, your mind's kind of made up on.
By the way, that's not an excuse to get back to the second round. I want to be clear with that. Like, no. They need to. I'm not going to say, well, they only played 20 games together. No. That's if they lose in these conference finals. I'm going to tell you that, hey, give me a full year and I'm beating you. All right, because I can do some things to make my team better. But this year specifically, they don't get away in rounds 1 and 2. Now, round 2, maybe depending who they play, right? If they're playing Milwaukee and you go 7, then I can say, well, dude, I feel like if they 20 games, it's not a lot when you're talking about your ball handler.
Yep.
Like you're talking about a 2 guard, you even still need it. But you're talking about he's running your offense now. And that's just like it did when he first walked in the building. It was like, look at us. And then we hit a low. And I talk to my kids about it all the time. This is what it is, man. This is what sports are. So you need to then understand that I'm going to be here. I'm going to come down here. And guess where I'm going to go again? If I'm good enough and I work hard enough, I'm going to go back up here. So that's the ebb and flows of it.
So you talk about that, your mind's kind of made up and where you believe they can go. And we talked about this last post game to where I'm kind of in that purgatory to where like I'm in the middle of, okay, gut feeling it's second round exit or they're getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm right there. So there's really one player that can shift this for me in the next, 5-6 games. And it's not the name you probably will think. It's not Embiid.
Is it not even starter or not a starter?
It's a starter because because here's the other thing. I'm glad you brought that up. If the bench, like Shake and some other guys, maybe Danny starts making some more shots, DeAndre replicates what he did today. That can also help my hope as far as them getting to an East Finals. But as far as a starter, there's a guy who I don't think a lot of people think I'm going to name.
I would say either Maxey or Tobias, but
it's Tobias. It's absolutely Tobias.
Well, let's get in what was interesting, Tobias. Let's get into a little bit of our winners and losers. And our winners are brought to you by BetUS, and BetUS is a leading online sports book. They've been in the market for over 25 years. You can bet anywhere in the U.S. on everything. Use the link pinned right in our comment section over on YouTube or in our description on Facebook, and you get 125% sign-up bonus. You got to deposit, obviously, to get the bonus, people. I see people are signing up, but they're not depositing, so they're not getting the bonus. All right. Hey, deposit. Just like my winner of the game did today, and I'm glad you brought him up, right? It's Tobias Harris. I mean, he was great in the first half. And the other big thing is he was hitting standstill threes, right? Stationary threes. So important to his confidence, so important to his basketball team, because he's going to get the opportunities for stationary threes. And then the other thing is, I thought he was aggressive today, right? He had a mouse in the house. I think it was Kelly Oubre at one point guarding him in the post. And no, you got mouse in the house. We're big fans of mouses in the house here. So when you do that, you take advantage of it. And the other side piece winner to that is, this coaching staff a little bit, because I thought when they were winning games and they were clicking through that point, they really took advantage of mismatches on the other team. I really thought they did a great job of that. And I don't want to say they got away from it. They only got away from it in Detroit, right? The other two games, they played good basketball. They just didn't win the game, right? Yep. So I'm not saying they got away from that. But, people can say, oh, well, they lost 3, so they got away from it. If they did a great job of getting back to it today. So that's my winner. It's Tobias Harris with a side, right? And a little hors d'oeuvre of taking advantage of mismatches, because Kelly Oubre won't guard me or you. So,
no, it's a big reason why I didn't want him in the offseason. He was either going to be apparently it was going to be Danny Green or Kelly Oubre, and I get it, both of them. I wish we didn't get either of them right now, but it was kind of like, okay, Danny might not have any knees left, but at least he can pretend to play some defense. Kelly Oubre can't at all. And real quick on the Tobias thing before I give my winner, by no means is this to take pressure away from James Harden or deflect from what he's supposed to be. He's supposed to come in here, be a facilitator, and be that solidified second star. You need to do that. I expect you to do that for as long as you're here, whether it's this year or for however long, okay? Because some people think that he's going to be going in the offseason, but that's for another show. If you have performances like you did today, or things that mirror that, again, I'm not expecting you every night, even though it'd be very nice to have a 30-point victory and you tie the franchise record in threes and all that stuff. But when you have a facilitating James Harden, they can get other guys involved, ball movement-wise. You can get your assists and rebounds also. If you want to have kind of like a rotation, kind of like, oh, it's my turn, of Maxey, Tobias, and Harden playing that second leader in points in a game, be my guest. And I think the fear for a lot of us is that we know Maxey can do it at times, but we know, hey, he's 21 years old. It's a lot to ask the guy to be the second star along with Embiid in a 7-game series. But if you can get that in a 7-game series to where you have a couple where Harden goes and he has high 20s, if you have Tobias where he goes mid-20s, Maxey a couple, that's gigantic. That's gigantic. So it's all about showing in these next handful of games heading into the playoffs that you are capable of that. That's why Tobias is that key to me. It's because we know that he can be, that guy for a half where he's playing aggressive, he's going to the rack and all that, and then he disappears. But he continued on that trend. I believe that he tied his season highest for threes. I think he had 4 threes in the first half.
Yes, he did.
Very early or was it in the first half?
Yes.
Okay, so there you go. So, and that was also, mind you, he passed up, I think, 2 or 3 open threes throughout the entire game, where even Ala Abdenabi said, oh, you got to take that. You got to take that. So it shows that he was hot today, but he still had room to improve, which was great. And also, we're judging this off of 3 quarters. This was a 3-quarter performance before you had the Niangs and B-ball Pauls who came out there. My winner, for one, because you saw how important it was, especially it was in that run where you just boat raced them and the game was lost, in Charlotte's behalf. But also, he's my winner because I don't know how many more times we're going to say this. My winner of the game is Matisse Thybulle because he was double digits in points. He was 5 for 7 from the field, and he shot 50% from 3. And obviously, he gave you everything he does on defense when he's not in foul trouble. That's gigantic because I get messages all the time. Oh, guys, why don't you talk about Matisse? Because we know what he is. I'm not going to come out and complain, nor is Tom, that, oh, he didn't put up 15. Because we're not going to waste our breath with that. We know he's going to be very limited. But when you can get a performance like that, when he attributes offensively and defensively to really go on a run in the third, it's where the game's won right there, ladies and gentlemen.
No, it is. When he scores in double digits, they're usually hard to beat because then everybody else is usually in double digits. So it just adds on. It gives gives a threat, and it spaces the floor. It makes people have to like at least like try to defend him. That's his importance of hitting the three ball. That's why, we talk about today, 2 for 4 from three. I mean, that makes people have to close out on you a little bit. I think he's at 31% on the year. So, I mean,
oh, wow.
Not great, but he's done a better job of it, with Harden here. So he definitely has. But it's about them moving the basketball, because when they do, you're going to get open threes.
Yes, Don, you're crazy. I love Matisse, but no, Marcus Smart at least has the threat of scoring.
Marcus Smart scored his whole life. So
yeah, no, he's
Harden's not KZ. Harden's not going 3 for 25 every night.
He went 4 for 10.
So, I mean, facilitating means more than Ben's facilitating, because you actually have to try to stop him. Like, no matter how cold he is, people, a mother effer better still get a hand in the face.
They were still smothering him today. They were doubling him like he was Houston Harden. I'm like, guys, you probably don't need to double him today.
No, probably not.
No, but they did, and that's gigantic. Why do you think Matisse got all the open looks? Somebody's going to be open when you've got that.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. So there are winners for this week, and our losers are brought to you by Gleason's Bar, which is located 6700 Mill Creek Avenue in Levittown, PA. Use promo code A2D for 10% off your order whenever you dine in, take out, or online. Gleason'sBarandSteaks.com. Get that 10% off. Go get yourself a Trenton, great cheesesteak, or just the regular cheesesteaks, which are freaking phenomenal. Phenomenal. My loser is some of this fan base. That's who my loser of this game is.
I'm not even gonna do a loser because I knew this was gonna go. So I'll just sit back on this.
Yeah, so many losers that clamor for like a G League big men or anything else that's out there because supposedly that's better. Okay, it's just getting old, people. It's really just getting old that we like fall in love with guys who aren't great. And for everybody out there, it ties into my loser. For everybody out there, it's like, well, Doc doesn't play young guys. He doesn't. Okay, well, 2 young guys are in your starting rotation, aren't they? 2 young guys are in your starting 5, unless I missed something. I feel like these still work. I mean, 2 young guys are starting. So, no, he's not going to play guys he doesn't trust. So, when a guy today, like people play 7 minutes, 2 fouls. 7 minutes, 2 fouls. So, you all idiots think in the postseason that it's smart to play him. So now I'm going to get in foul trouble as a team, and now I send the team to the line for freebies. I'm telling you, anybody out there that is clamoring, that has a camera on them and a microphone, that clamors for B-ball Paul, I suggest you question their basketball IQ. And that's not saying he can't play some minutes. That's not saying that. That's saying I need you to question their B-ball IQ. That is clamoring. That is saying he has to play. He has to get 10, 12 minutes a day over DeAndre Jordan. DeAndre Jordan's not any good. I don't care. I knew what I was getting. But shut up. Shut up. This guy's a walking foul. He's a walking foul. So in the postseason, you know what? Let's get some freebies here so we can get to a team to the line quicker and they can get easy points versus us. Grow up, people. Grow up. Like, at least when people clamor for TJ McConnell, at least the guy could play a little bit. Like, we're talking about a guy that really we don't know if he can play. We know he's athletic and he can run. Whoop-de-doo. Whoop-de-doo. Like, he's not going to be the difference maker of this team getting to where you want them to get to. And if you think he is, or you think he's stopping Giannis, wow. Nobody in the league stops Giannis. So you think he is? Nobody stops him. Nobody.
I'm gonna do exactly for the fam what Tom and I talked about before we went on the air. Like, because Tom right now he's in the middle of a war with the B-ball Paul fans. Also the Charles Bassey fans to a degree, but more it's the B-ball Paul hive, we'll call it. And I like B-ball Paul. Listen, it's become a meme. The out the mud, all that stuff. I don't think either side is wrong, which is what I said to Tom. I think the overreaction side of each that's where it's wrong. Okay. So to Tom's point, I'll start with that. The people who go on Twitter or on the radio or any shows or whatever, mind you, whatever forum they choose. And after a loss to the Pistons or the Bucks or the Suns, and they talk about, okay, Paul read this, Paul read that. That's the first thing they go to. You're wrong. Okay. I get what people were saying, like the middlemen type people, where listen, we just want Doc Rivers to try stuff out because DeAndre Jordan, up until this game in a season, his plus minus was minus 117. So I get what they're saying, the B-ball Paul Hive. It's that just try something else because the worst thing that's going to happen is, okay, he's going to suck and he goes right back to doing what he does already, and that's not play. So I get it. I get where we want experimentation. We want to get a guy who doesn't know how to move anymore, and Paul Millsap, who really doesn't know how to move anymore, who's 3 inches shorter than a guy who, listen, the worst thing that's going to happen is he's not going to be any better than what we see. I get that. On the flip side, what Tom is saying is that he's not making this argument saying DeAndre Jordan's good. He's not even saying DeAndre Jordan's average. Anybody with eyes knows that DeAndre Jordan's not, he shouldn't play anymore. But this is the cards you were dealt. And the thing that I always lean back on, we've talked about it in past shows, is that if you're going to Twitter or on any forum that you choose and you're wasting your breath ranting and raving about how Doc Rivers isn't going to play Paul Reed or Isaiah Joe or Charles Bassey, you're really wasting your breath. Because unless you have somebody that has a high ceiling like Maxey, who you have to play, or somebody who's going to be a specialist like Matisse Thybulle, who fits a role in the starting lineup, you're asking Doc Rivers to be something he isn't. And that's a guy who he's not going to play young guys to that degree. He's not going to play young second-year, second-round pick guys. He's going to go with a comfort level thing. You saw that with Brett Brown. For years, it was, oh, why are you not playing Rashawn Holmes? Why are you playing Amir Johnson over? What was his answer? It's a comfortability thing. That's just what Doc Rivers and DeAndre Jordan and Paul Millsap are. It sucks. I wish Drummond was still here because I know Curry and Drummond are Hall of Famers to people. But that's the cards you dealt. And that's why, like, listen, I'm afraid that this is going to be like a Greg Monroe thing all over again. But
it's just bad buyout market too. I mean, the buyout market wasn't.
Yeah, they misjudged it. They completely
misjudged it. As big as it usually is. So listen, it is what it is. You know, people just got to understand that you're going to win with your main guys, right? And they're going to be the ones that have to get it done for you. So if you don't get to where you want to get to, it's going to be because of those guys. Because one of those guys didn't step up and play. Our comments of the day, we'll get to some comments and get out of here, is brought to you by Araya Public Adjusting. Do you have damage to your home or property? We may be able to help. Don't fight your homeowner's insurance alone. Contact our good friends at Araya Public Adjusting at 813-564-3364. Licensed in many states, so make sure you go check them out if you need anything. And they're on all the social media platforms as well. A couple questions and comments per se. Kyle Cap says, if we lose in the first round, are we done with Glenn Rivers? I think he's done if they lose in the first round. Absolutely. I think there's a way of him coming back if they lose in the second. But in the first, I almost feel like it's hard for them to bring him back. I don't think they lose in the first round, so I think that's a non-conversation. It's more if they lose in the second, how do they lose, right? Who do they lose to?
You can't take a step back. You cannot do that. You know, you can make an argument, say, for example, you lose, in 7 games again. Oh, well, we didn't have a max money guy for half the season. Okay, fine. You can't go backwards. Now, will Tom and I be done with him? If they lose in the second round, maybe, but the team, I wouldn't see them firing him unless you see another report that you saw on Friday morning that's Sixers players aren't feeling Doc Rivers, which I'm not saying is false. I'm not feeling him either. That's why he won.
Yeah, I just don't buy these reports.
No, it was too strategic.
Yeah, like why? Because Joel said what he said. Like, okay, like who cares? Like Joel always speaks his mind. It doesn't mean they don't feel each other. They're trying to all hold each other accountable. All right, Jesus God.
And he wasn't wrong either. Like he wasn't saying that to be like, oh, Doc sucks. We need to match my minutes with Giannis. It's kind of like, yeah, you should probably match your minutes with Giannis. That's correct, Joe. Thank you. Like it wasn't. Well, I didn't think that was a shot at Doc. It was kind of like, oh yeah, Joe's good at basketball and he's also watches basketball, so he's smart.
Pat, I don't understand Bassey's urgency. He's barely played. Paul is too small. I don't want them to play in the playoffs at all. Regular season, sure. Yeah, I agree with you, and I think that's what we're leading into. That's what it is.
I'll replicate what I said to Tom before we went on the air, and that's everyone arguing for B-ball Paul. I actually think you're arguing for the wrong guy. If you want efficiency, if you want a guy to fill a role along with Harden, get rebounds, obviously blocks, all that, get the alley-oop potential off the pick and roll. It's not Paul Reed. It's actually Charles Bassey, because he's going to give you the same roles without the high volume of mistakes that Paul Reed's going to give you. I understand Paul Reed's kind of that more of an instant energy guy, floor janitor, all that stuff. But people were arguing the wrong guy. But even on the flip side, he's not going to play a second-round rookie.
He's not going to play somebody he sees is not ready in practice, too. I mean, like, he's watching them more. Like, I got no problem with this. He's playing two young guys. I think anybody out there that says Doc doesn't play young guys is a moron, because he is. He's starting one second-year guy and one third-year guy who are both young guys. They're both in the first years of the first runs of their contracts. So they're young guys. So I don't understand everybody's like up in arms he doesn't play young guys. No, he's not playing G League guys that are young. Like that's what it comes down to. So he's trusting in Danny, he's trusting in Niang, and he's trusting in DeAndre Jordan over guys that are G League guys right now. So next year, can Charles Bassey be your backup center? Probably, if he continues to develop. Can Paul Reed get maybe some minutes here and there, a little bit more? Maybe if he develops. But right now, like, he's going to play the guys that he thinks is going to give them the best chance to win. It's not like he doesn't see these guys ever. So I think people can just calm themselves down a little bit. Just calm down, people.
Yeah, the Matisse Thybulle role could have easily have been Danny Green. Could have easily be Danny Green in the start. Because I can hear that now. Oh, Ryan, Tom, who are you starting instead of Matisse? You had to play Matisse.
Oh, I got two guys I can start instead of both of them. I could start Jake because he's more of a veteran and he's played in the postseason more than Tyrese, right? I could do that and bring Tyrese off the bench. I could do that and start Danny Green over Matisse and Tyrese. Right? There's two guys that I could start over them guys, and because they're more veteran players, and if you're going that direction, and both have more playoff experience than either one of them. So why not?
There's actually three. Because we forget who started instead of Danny Green when he got hurt. It could be Furkan.
Yeah, you don't trust.
Which
him.
would be again. I'm not saying any of the alternatives work.
That's why he's not playing. You know what I mean? To that point, like, Furkan's not playing because he doesn't trust him. He's been cold. So that's just to the people out there that are idiots. That's what they're not understanding. So yeah, we could do that all day. But listen, great little post game after a win. Keep your alerts on for the weekly roundup. You have this in this very ring coming up later today. I know WrestleMania is tomorrow night.
No, 2 nights.
Two nights.
Night one tonight.
Up-de-do.
Undertaker.
Final four. Well, I'll give it to you quick, Don. Kansas is really good.
Kansas Duke for me.
I'll go Nova Carolina again. Nova Carolina again, just to be different, whatever. Just to be different. We don't pick the same one. So we appreciate everybody tuning in. It's great to get a win. It's great to get that stench off of us a little bit. And then we're back at it tomorrow. And agree to disagree. We'll either be live like during it, towards the end of it, somewhere in that fashion. But we'll be here to talk Sixers tomorrow night for you. Sixers lose by 2. Sixers fan, it's time to panic. Sixers win by 30. Sixers fan, we still lost the trade. Yup, Pat.
I know exactly who you're talking about. Stop talking about the damn trade. Stop talking about the damn trade.
Yeah, this is tough out there. I mean,
and I'm saying that. I love talking trades, but stop talking about the trade.
Yeah, it's over with. Like we did what we had to do, and we're a pretty good basketball team. I just want people to still understand that. This is still a pretty good basketball team. And I know Harden hasn't been perfect, but I said at the start of the show, this is the James Harden we need in a way, right? Where he is a facilitator, where he is getting other guys involved, but he's still getting his when he needs to. That's the Harden. Like when he did that when he first came over, right? When it first happened and we were moving the basketball, right? How good of a basketball team we are because we do have a lot of firepower. So the more we can move it, the more we can get everybody going. And today's a perfect example of that. I would rather, I could do without 12, 13 points. I would like a little bit more than that. But you understand my point. Like if he's 18 and 12, 20 and 12, that's great. Like 20, 12 and 7, I'm taking that nightly. 20, 12 and 8, I'm taking that nightly. So anybody that's not, get a clue. I don't need them dropping 30 a night. I have other guys. And if we're moving it, everybody's going to get involved. So that's that. That is that. So, right, good stuff.
On the board, 1 victory.
1 and 2. See how we go on from there. Me and Rye will be back next week, obviously. doing post games throughout the end of the regular season, and then in the postseason, we'll be here for everybody to rant. So if you haven't already, hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the follow. We're also everywhere you get your podcasts, everywhere. So go subscribe, go download, go review, and we're also live every time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And check out all A2D Gaming over on the Twitch side of things. So we're here. Stick around, people.